Hi, everybody. It's the Pirate People Podcast on Buzzsprout, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and on the Pirate Digital Media Facebook page. I am Rick Cole of Pirates Digital Media, and this is, I think, our sixth podcast. We appreciate those of you who've taken some time to comment on the podcast. It's certainly a work still underway. So again, we appreciate all of those comments. If you would like to leave us some feedback on the podcast, please get a hold of me. My email is rcole@mail.ncmissouri.edu. I think it's on the website or somewhere. It's really not too hard to find me these days. So please give us your comments on the Pirate People podcast. Our guest today will be Dorris Rider Art Gallery Director Jim Norris. They've got a big show going on, the Local Artist Showcase, number 13. Didn't have it last year, so they had to wait for number 13 this year. It runs at the Art Gallery through October 8th, and Jim Norris will be our guest here in just a second. News from around North Central Missouri College. The National Higher Learning Commission is on campus to review our accreditation procedures and processes. This is a big deal for colleges. Every college goes through it periodically, and for us, it's been months of planning by Dr. Tristan Landre and many others. And then this week we're hosting the Higher Learning Commission on campus for 3 days so they can hear from staff and the public and go through all of those procedures and outcomes, as we said. It's important because keeping the accreditation means that our degrees mean something. But like I said, it's something that every college goes through, and it's just our turn right now. And I believe it's every 10 years they come through. I've been at a college where the accreditation review did not go well. And it's a big deal if it doesn't go well. So Dr. Landre and others, like I said, have been working on it, been hosting. They will be hosting this week, and a lot of credit to them because it's a big chunk to bite off. And they're handling it, and they're extremely well organized. They really are. Before we get on to Jim Norris, it's time for me to shamefully plug Pirates Digital Media. We're still looking for some campus students, some students here on campus who are looking for jobs this winter, and they would be jobs on our live broadcast staff when we televise basketball games during the winter, and then this spring, the softball and baseball schedule that'll be posted at piratesdigitalmedia.com. It's not too far away, and so again, we're looking for some folks that would like to contribute to that effort. We've got some ways to compensate this year that we haven't had in the past, so again, if you know a student that's interested, have them get a hold of me. Well, Jim Norris is our guest, and he is on deck here. Again, the art exhibit, the Local Artist Showcase is going on right now. And now here is the director of the Dorris Rider Art Gallery, Jim Norris, on the Pirate People podcast. Jim Norris is with us. He is the gallery director here on campus at North Central Missouri College. You've got an art show going on. We'll talk to you about all of that and all the stuff. But welcome.
Thank you. Thanks. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, well, it's good to have you. We've had some conversations about the art show in the last couple of years, and I know COVID knocked it out last year, right? You didn't have it last year. So how is it going, and what are people masking and doing all that stuff? Are you asking them to?
We're basically just following the regular NCMC recommendations that says, we're not going to require a mask, but it's recommended, for people to come in and just to be on campus, to be around other people.
Right.
So I assume some people are wearing and some are not.
The show runs through, I believe, the 8th of October, right?
That's right.
When people go over there, what are they going to see?
Well, basically, every single school year, we start off with the Local Artist Show, and it's mainly people from Trenton or the very close surrounding area. This year we've branched out a little bit. We've got a guy from St. Joe who's in there, and his work is really, really great. But it's just nice to be able to see the fact that there are people around here that are making some really fantastic art.
Yeah. This is the 13th show, right?
It is.
Wow. Have you been here for all of them?
I have. I've actually been here. Last year was my 20th year.
20 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's kind of flown by.
Oh yeah, like they all seem to do. You know, when you think time is going fast, just wait, and then it starts going faster. You know,
Oh,
as you
there's
get
no
older.
doubt about it. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
yeah. Tell me about some of these local artists and the kind of the art community in this area. What's it like?
Okay, well, there are a lot of people who just make art, and they just love it for various reasons. We all have our reasons for it, and um, so that show is a great opportunity for them to be able to put their work out there in public a little bit. It seems like most people, they'll make art, and maybe they'll post it on Facebook or Instagram or something like that, but this is a chance to show their art, show the real thing in person, and it's always nice to see what other people are doing as well. You can bounce ideas off of them, or see someone else's work and maybe be inspired to maybe go in a different direction or to try something new.
Right.
Yeah.
At the show that's going on right now, what kind of media are we looking at?
There is pretty much everything. We've got your traditional like charcoal drawing. There's oil painting. There's a lot of photography, which is really nice again this year. There's a guy who does what's called pyrography, and it's not fair to call it wood burning
Okay.
because it's a lot more interesting.
Pyrography is what you call it?
Yeah, yeah, and he uses some torches. He uses some heated metal tools to burn into wood, and it's pretty fantastic.
Yeah, I'd like to see that.
Yeah.
That's something I know very little about. But I appreciate it. I think it's beautiful.
Oh, same, and I didn't know a lot about it either, other than just I think when I was a kid, I had like one of those wood burning kits.
Yeah, exactly, right. Yeah.
Nice, dangerous toy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's really great because this particular artist, he told me that about other people that he know of that work with this process, and different things. Again, you can find everything online.
Right. Yes.
And this particular person, he just found inspiration and is doing some really great stuff.
Yeah, I'm going to dig into your soul a little bit here in a few minutes about what art is. But you mentioned online, and we are all online. We're all, it's instant gratification, everything.
Mm-hmm.
How has the internet changed art?
Oh, wow. It's changed it in a really amazing way. Now, one thing is, and if any of my students listen to this, they'll be like, yeah, we heard you talk about this in class.
Yeah.
But historically speaking, artwork will kind of look the same if it's made at the same time in the same place. And that's just because you've got artists who are gathering together, and they're again, bouncing ideas off of each other. They're inspired by each other. Well, with the internet, you don't have to be face to face with someone. You can work in real time with somebody, virtually side by side. Somebody who's halfway around the world, and you can be bouncing ideas off of them in real time. You can see what they're doing in real time. And so the whole concept of the closeness of the art world is very much changed. For example, there's an artist that I really love his work. He lives in New York City, and we because of email, because of Facebook and all of this, I comment on his things, he comments back, and I got a chance to meet the guy in person, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago, and it was almost like we knew each other.
Yeah.
Never met face to face, and that's pretty amazing.
Is art created on the internet? In other words, can art be a YouTube video or something like that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. To give a definition of what the term art, I can't.
Right.
I can't do that. I
Right.
don't have the answer to that.
And yet I'm going to ask you to do it
You
in a
are.
few minutes.
Yeah, but generally what I will say is that anything that's man-made has some sort of artistic touch to it.
Right.
And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's a painting or a sculpture or like anything. As I look around this room we're sitting in, like the ceiling tiles, the these T-shirts with the designs on them. That's all art.
Yes.
There's all
Right.
some sort of design that has gone into them to create them. Of course, the design on the T-shirt, that's obvious
Yes.
why it could be artistic, but things like your common everyday utilitarian things like ceiling tiles or like concrete blocks.
Right.
They had to be designed to serve their purpose
Right.
the most efficient way.
So is design the same thing as art or vice versa?
Design is a function of art. It's a part of art. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. But if you really enjoy something that's designed well, something that I'm talking about a tool or whatever, a computer, whatever, there's a certain amount of art in putting that together. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Oh, I think so. I definitely think so. I mean, nobody's going to say that a hammer is a work of art, but on the other hand,
Yeah.
there is the design element that has gone into creating it. Again, certain brands might use a particular color for whatever reason, or the hammer had to be designed to drive nails well and to pull nails out. So yeah, I mean, all of those things, there certainly is a design that's gone into it.
I'm a big fan of Seth Godin, who writes a lot of stuff about business. Right, Seth Godin.
Absolutely, yeah.
And he started talking a decade or so, maybe more, about your life's work is a piece of art. That every time you create something, a project or an idea, those are pieces of art. And I'm starting to think about that more and more as I get older. And I kind of like that idea. Is that something that kind of reverberates with you?
Oh yeah, I could definitely go with that. And I'm with you. I mean, I've read some of his books too, and I like what he has to say. Yeah. I mean, I do think that people tend to limit what they think an artwork is a product. And a product like a painting or a sculpture. Whatever. And I think there's a lot more that goes into it.
Right. Yeah. I've adapted that a little bit. I think that the processes we go through, or the processes, whatever, but what we go through, those can be a piece of art too. Teaching a class, teaching a class in art is an artwork in itself.
I hadn't thought about that, but I like that.
Yeah. Well,
we'll run with that.
Sarah Bird was on our podcast a couple of weeks ago, and she talked about how she can just get lost during that instructional period of a class, that her focus, whatever you want to call it, is right there, laser sharp. And, I think that's being able to do that, I think is, to me at least.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. And I listened to that podcast with her on there, and I totally agree with that idea, where you get into talking about whatever it may be. I always tell my students that I kind of apologize in advance when I start talking about ancient Egypt, because I love it.
Okay.
I'm fascinated by it, and I know I tend to share probably more information than what they really need.
Right.
Maybe want.
Right.
But yeah, it's just something that I enjoy so much, and I think it does come off. I think the students will look at that and think, wow, this guy really likes this stuff.
Right. Jim Norris is the gallery director here at North Central Missouri College and teaches art classes here. Where did your art career begin? Was it that ancient Egypt? Did that attract you?
No, not really. It's the story itself.
I want to hear the story.
Is when I was a little kid, I just always drew. I can't remember not making art, and kind of known as that kid. He's the artist in the class, and just as time went on, I got older, went to high school, and once I started deciding, well, I'm going to go to college, it was never what am I going to do. It was always what kind of art am I going to do, because it was just kind of a foregone conclusion to me.
Okay.
So I went to Central Missouri State in Warrensburg, UCM now.
Yeah.
And I started off in commercial art and ultimately switched into art education.
Okay.
And that's kind of what led me here.
Right, right. Ever teach at the high school level? Because I have a theory I want to run by you.
Oh, okay, I did actually.
Okay.
I taught at Trenton High School for 5.5 years. Some of that first couple years were part time, and then full time.
I've always thought that art teachers at the public school level, especially in high school, have a tough go because largely, and I don't mean to offend you or anybody, but largely art classes in high school are an elective that you take to kind of fill your schedule out. But when you go to college, these people are searching out specifics and they want to do it. Is there a vast difference between the teaching at high school for you and the teaching at college?
A little bit. The schedule is very, very different, obviously, but I enjoyed teaching high school. It wasn't a bad gig at all. I just had wanted to move to a higher level, and so when the position came open at NCMC, I certainly applied, and I was happy to get it. And I do get what you mean as far as, there are a lot of students maybe at the high school level that are taking it just kind of for the credit.
Right. And they all look like they're from the cast of Grease, right? No, I'm just kidding.
I got along really well with my students back then, even the ones that were taking it just because they were taking it.
Yeah.
And so I did enjoy it. Now, to answer your question about how it's different here, yeah, I mean, there are a lot of students, for example, in my studio classes, the drawing, the painting classes. There are generally two groups. There are the ones that are going to be going on to, a four-year college, university, and going to major in art. And I've had several of those over the years, and some that have been pretty successful and have done some really nice things. And then there are the other ones that, hey, I like to draw, and I think I'd like to learn to draw better. So, hey, here's a drawing class, I'll take it.
Right.
And they're all fun.
Yeah.
It's fun to have them all.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how it plays out.
What kind of, you've mentioned a couple of them, but what other classes are you teaching?
Well, I teach art appreciation, and that's of course the kind of the big one. That's the general ed class that I'll get a lot of students who they're not necessarily even interested in art. Kind of like what you said.
Got to have it as a prerequisite, right?
They're taking it for the credit. And then I do teach drawing 1, drawing 2, painting 1, painting 2, and then I do have, of course, an online version of the art appreciation class as well.
Right. What do you see for the future? Because this is not, it's like our broadcasting right now. It's not a degree program, correct?
Correct.
How does that work? I mean, is it for people that are just kind of interested, kids that are getting their gen eds out of the way, all of that together?
That's mainly what it's going to be, I think. I'm always working to try to improve the classes. I'm kind of working right now to maybe restructure the art appreciation curriculum just a little bit to maybe go in a different direction to include some more other cultures, other parts of history that maybe I don't quite cover as much right now. Maybe drop back on the Egyptians just a little bit.
Yeah. Get those Egyptians in there all you can.
But yeah, and then as far as the studio classes, I'm always tweaking that. I'm adding new projects, pulling certain projects out, and so yeah, there are always little changes that are happening.
Right. Art, you said you've done it since you were a kid. Well, what else do you enjoy doing in your life?
Well, the go-to is always to say, I make art.
Yeah.
It's kind of a joke that as far as teaching art and loving it so much, I can go home and make a painting.
Yeah.
At the end of the day after teaching art all day. And I always kind of joke that, maybe the math teachers probably don't go home and do long division for fun. I don't know. We might ask Tracy Welch that. I don't know. But no, I'm also a really big music fan, and so try to go to a lot of concerts. And
Well, let's talk some music.
yeah, of course, last year
Nobody went anywhere.
It was impossible last year, and I had a lot of good concert tickets last year.
Right. Which ones?
The one that really stood out to me last year was Pearl Jam.
Yes, sir. Now we're talking.
Yeah,
St. Louis show?
it was the St. Louis show.
Yeah, I've not heard. I've got seats. I've got backstage seats. Have I ever told you this story?
No, you have not.
Yes, because they're selling seats back behind the stage, way up at the top.
Uh-huh.
Those are the ones I got. Yeah, but they haven't rescheduled or even talked about rescheduling.
No, I haven't heard anything other than the fact that it's not canceled.
Right,
so that's
exactly.
The good thing.
Yeah. Have you seen them before?
I have seen them one time.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
Yeah, it'd be my second show.
Yeah.
That's interesting. What's your impression of them? Of Pearl Jam live?
You get your money's worth. That's a fact.
Yeah.
There are not a lot of other bands that are out there doing 30, 35 song set lists.
Yeah.
No, I thought they were fantastic.
You know, the one thing, because I've been involved in athletics for a long time, and I love the concept of teams. There was a point in the show I saw that they performed so well as a team. It was just kind of, for those of you who know, I think it was present tense. They all just kind of, they did the intro thing with the first set of lyrics, and they just kind of got together in a little huddle, and they just played. And, and they play so well off of each other. Anyway, so yeah, huge fan.
Yeah, and there are a lot of those, and I agree. They are, it's too bad they don't tour more than they do, but... You know, I was a huge fan of Tom Petty. Saw him
my daughter
many
was too.
times, and kind of like what you're talking about there, as far as like being a team. I mean, that was a tight band.
Yes.
And you know, now one of my current favorites is Jason Isbell, the 400 unit.
Oh, tell me about that. That's
he's generally gets labeled as Americana or alternative country or something like that.
Right.
But and just an incredible songwriter. Probably, you know, I think the best songwriter out there today. And, you know, their shows, again, they're really tight too. Yeah. They're a great band. Saw them a couple weeks ago, closer 3 or 4 weeks, I guess. And just great show as always.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
But, you know, we're just trying to get back to, I think bands are trying to get back to shows and trying to figure out the whole, you know, dynamic of how do we handle in the COVID era, the maybe the resurgence. It looks like, who knows, but it's in. I know it's a challenge for you know to have live music.
Right.
I'm sure glad that there are some opportunities to see a little bit.
Well, hey, listen, I'm. In a couple of weeks, I'm going on vacation. We're going to stay on the North Shore in Hawaii, which is nice. But you know, Eddie Vedder's up there all the time. So if I see him, I'll mention that you would really like for them to get back on tour. Okay.
Tell him to get on that, and you know, it seems like they played a show recently over the last week or so, and I was looking at the set list, and it was a nice, really long show.
Right.
So they're getting back out there a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they probably, you know, I think they love playing live, but what a production it is. I mean, for any of those bands. So anyway. Who else have you seen?
Oh my gosh.
Through history. Noteworthy.
So the bands that I've seen the most, Avett Brothers. A lot of the music that I like is people kind of say, "Huh? Who?
Right?
Who is that?" And I kind of like that because the shows can be smaller.
Because you're an artist.
Well, I think, yeah. But the shows can be smaller. You can be in a more intimate type venue. I like that a lot. I absolutely hate going to see a show at Sprint Center.
Oh yeah.
Just too big.
Too much.
Yeah, a little too big. And you don't really have. I don't feel like anyway the closeness that you could have, you know, the you know, potential interaction with the band.
Right.
So some of the places, you know, that I love in Kansas City, for example, like Grinders and Knuckleheads and the Record Bar. That's a cool place to see a show. And you know, these are the places where you maybe go back to the restroom and you run into the artist you're there to see, you know, in the hallway in between. Right. And so yeah, I mean that's to me that kind of adds to the experience.
I ran into John Lennon in a restroom. in Branson, Missouri, but it was just his impersonator.
Oh,
One of those Branson,
right,
Branson
right.
shows. So, but I thought that was, yeah.
I
So,
got-
and you know what? I said hello to him, and he said something like, "What's up, mate?" or something like that. So
So he even had the accent. Good.
Yeah, he did.
Good
he did.
deal.
We could make this a whole separate podcast because I'm fascinated by music, and maybe we'll do that sometime.
Oh, that'd be great.
But to kind of summarize a little bit, this show coming up, you said somewhere along our chat here that the different eras and the different locations kind of tend to produce the same kind of art. Is that true here in Central America? Not Central America, the continent, but Central America,
No, it's not true. It's not. It again, historically that would be the case, but no. Now, because we have worldwide publications, magazines that could be printed, overseas, of course the internet, all of these things, all these options for people to get inspiration and to get ideas from. So no, it's not the case. And you go into any gallery in Kansas City, for example, and if they're the type of galleries that have several artists that they represent, you're going to find all kinds of different things. Right. So the gallery that I'm represented by in Kansas City, the Hilliard Gallery, you're going to find things that are artists who have human figure art. There's an artist who he makes things out of junk metal, and so many different genres, so many different mediums. So no, it's kind of almost anything goes at this point. Yeah.
Okay. More shows coming up this year?
In our gallery, yeah. We have a couple different artists from the Kansas City area that are going to be showing later in the year. We've got a pretty nice permanent collection NCMC has, so that'll be up at some point as well. We've not shown it for a while, and so I kind of thought, well, this would be a good year to do it, a good time to do it, just simply because we were closed down all of last year, and so it's nice to get that out there and kind of remind people what we have.
And the Local Artist Showcase number 13 running through October 8th.
Right.
Jim Norris, thank you so much. It's been a lot of fun.
All right, thanks a lot, Rick.
Jim Norris, our guest here on the Pirate People podcast. And boy, it was a fun conversation with him. He's an interesting guy. I love talking about the music and all of that kind of stuff. You heard me mention I will be gone from the middle of October to about the first part of November. And not quite sure what we'll do with the podcast during that time. We've got some students on campus that are working on podcasting. Perhaps we'll use their podcast during this slot. But whatever we do, we'll try to have something for you kind of new during that time. Also remember, Pirates Digital Media, the producers of the Pirate People podcast, is on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and our live broadcast page is piratesdigitalmedia.com. Thanks very much for listening. I'm Rick Cole, the director of Pirates Digital Media. Goodbye and go Pirates.